From medieval castles to star-shaped fortresses, moats have protected some of the most important places in human history. In this list, I'm going to count down 15 of the largest and most incredible moats in the world. Let's start with number 15, Fort Monroe in Virginia. At the entrance to the Chesapeake Bay in Hampton, Virginia, Fort Monroe stands as one of the largest moated fortifications in the Western Hemisphere. Encircled by a tidal moat, this six-sided stone bastion, dubbed Freedom's Fortress, blends 19th century military design with enduring preservation. Its scale and intricate engineering mark it as the grandest stone fort built in the United States. Begun in 1819, construction spanned over 25 years to shield waterways leading to Washington, D.C. and Virginia's coast after the War of 1812 exposed weaknesses. The moat, stretching over 1.5 miles in circumference, draws water from Mill Creek and the bay, remaining wet by design to thwart scaling, mining, and artillery assaults. Spanning about 6 to 12 feet deep and roughly 50 feet wide, the moat's curved bastions form a star-shaped defense, allowing overlapping fields of fire across every wall. Beyond protection, it regulates inner humidity and blooms as a daunting barrier, crossed only by a drawbridge under watchful ramparts. Active for over 150 years, the moat hosts fish, birds, and even alligators in there, merging military function with ecology. It flows in with the tidal estuary, and it's a rare union of defense and nature that still persists today. Fort Monroe played pivotal roles as a Union stronghold in the Civil War, a haven for enslaved people under the contraband policy, and a coastal artillery post through both world wars. Decommissioned in 2011, it became a national monument, now blending a museum, homes, and a cultural site. From above, it looks like a stark hexagon ringed by blue water, linked to land by a lone causeway. Aerial views track shoreline shifts, tidal patterns, and structural health, which aids in flood planning and upkeep. This perspective reveals a living fortress, its moat as vital as ever. Number 14, Fort Pulaski, Savannah, Georgia. In the tidal marshlands along Georgia's coast, Fort Pulaski rises like a landmark of mid-19th century military design, and it was a pivotal moment in American warfare. Built from 1829 to 1847 as part of the nation's coastal defense network, this fortress on Cockspur Island features a broad moat, 7 feet deep and nearly 30 feet wide, encircling the brick walls and shaped by Atlantic tides. Far from a mere ditch, this moat integrates the island's watery surroundings. Engineers carved it to channel tidal flows, using sluice gates to manage the water levels, embracing the marsh rather than opposing it. This design made the fort both formidable and practical. The moat bolstered defenses by thwarting infantry and artillery. Attackers faced open ground under fire, then a water barrier, while the moat's depth raised the fort's firing angles for sharper impact. It also aided in sanitation, flushing rainwater and waste with daily tides to keep the fort clean. During the Civil War, the moat's strengths met some new limits. In 1862, Union rifled artillery breached the walls from a mile away, bypassing the moat's protection and reshaping warfare, yet it had slowed ground assaults, granting defenders critical time. After capture, the fort served as a Union prison and a base, its moat still vital to operations. Now it's a national monument. Pulaski's tidal moat endures, linked to the Savannah River estuary. From above, Fort Pulaski looks like a red brick hexagon amid green marshes and silver streams. The moat gleams as a dark band tracing the fortress's edge. Aerial tools do monitor tidal shifts and bank stability, while subsurface scans reveal drainage paths, unveiling a coastal relic steadfast in its watery guard. Number 13, the Tower of London Moat. Along the River Thames in London, the Tower of London is an enduring emblem of Britain's past, its stone walls encircled by one of Europe's oldest moats. For nearly a millennium, this fortress has served as a palace, prison, and armory, its moat evolving from a medieval defense to a modern haven for wildlife and history. Begun in the late 11th century under William the Conqueror, the moat expanded by the 13th century during Edward I's reign. Engineers diverted the Thames tributary to fill it with tidal waters, creating a daunting barrier. Drawbridges guarded entry, securing the tower as a near impenetrable stronghold. At its peak, the moat stretched 120 feet wide and over 15 feet deep, curving around inner and outer walls. Invaders face swift highs and slick slopes under the defenders' fire, a formidable challenge refined over centuries to counter advancing threats and shifting conditions. But beyond defense, the moat grew perilous. By the 17th century, poor sanitation turned it into a foul trench, posing health risks. Drained in the 19th century after public outcry, it gave way to gardens, later serving as a shelter and a bunker during World War II's Blitz. Today, though, the dry moat hosts birds, wildflowers, and art displays, like the 2014 Poppy Tribute. It manages storm runoff while the walls undergo careful monitoring, blending preservation with ecological purpose. But from above, it emerges as a stone enclave within the city's pulse. This moat is a pale crescent that traces ancient lines. Aerial tools track soil, foot traffic, and climate shifts, revealing a historic arc from fortress to living monument along the Thames. Number 12. Castillo de San Felipe, Colombia. On the hill of San Lazaro, overlooking Cartagena, Colombia, the Castillo de San Felipe de Baraja rises as a pinnacle of Spanish colonial defense. Built in the 16th century, this fortress blends walls with an intricate moat system vital to repelling pirates and rivals. Though partly restored, the moat endures as a hallmark of ingenious military engineering. Far from a simple trench, the moat formed a layered barrier within the fort's defenses, and once filled with tidal water and lined with wooden stakes, it created a perilous zone, exposing attackers to cannon fire, muskets, and angled bastion shots. This buffer forced the enemies into a narrow, vulnerable approach. Begun in 1536, the fortress has evolved through the 1650s and 18th century, the moat adapting alongside. As tunnels, redoubts, and batteries expanded, the channels deepened at precise angles to block any siege towers and rams, doubling as flood control and erosion barriers. Its design channeled the rainwater to maintain swampy depths during sieges, hindering any assault. Historical accounts do note trenches were laced with tar or oil and ignited in crises to amplify the threat, showcasing some practical foresight. Tied to Cartagena's broader defenses, internal tunnels allowed the defenders to regroup or counterattack, ensuring resilience even if breached. Despite sieges and neglect, the moat's outlines still persist. Restoration preserves its angles and drainage paths, maintaining a glimpse of its original strength. But from above, it forms a jagged outline within Cartagena's sprawl. The moat is a shadowed curve along the fortress base, and aerial imagery reveals old channels and aids in preservation, casting some light on a boundary that guarded centuries of conflict. Number 11. Fort Bourtange, the Netherlands. In the northeastern reaches of the Netherlands, Fort Bourtange emerges as a geometric masterpiece of military design. Crafted in 1593 amid marshy terrain, this star-shaped fortress built during the 80 Years' War blends precise engineering with the watery surroundings. The expansive moat system is a defining feature, turned swamps into an unyielding defense, safeguarding Dutch control over a vital road. Ordered by William of Orange to block Spanish access to Groningen, the fort harnessed the land's natural dampness. Engineers shaped five-pointed stars encircled by deep V-shaped moats that widened outward, forming angular barriers. These waters thwarted direct assaults, exposing attackers to relentless fire from the bastions. Now, the moat's ingenuity lay in control. Sluices and channels let defenders adjust the water levels, flooding dry ground to mire infantry and halt any siege machines. Linked to regional canals, this system created a fluid shield, with some moat sections slowed by brush, others cleared for cannon shots, and narrow bridges angled to favor defenders. Within, a self-sufficient village thrived, barracks, homes, and stores sustained by wells and raised reserves. But despite the Spanish efforts, Bourtange held firm for over 2 centuries, adapting until its 1851 decommission. Restored in the 20th century using the 1742 plans, the fort now serves as an open-air museum, the moats and walls drawing visitors to explore a preserved past. From above, the fort gleams as a star that's carved into the fields there. Its moats trace these sharp lines against the farmland, their symmetry vivid in aerial views. Seasonal data, too, tracks water and vegetation shifts, revealing a fortress where defense meets elegance. Number 10. Suwon Haseong Fortress, South Korea. In the heart of Suwon, just south of Seoul, the Haseong Fortress stands as an enduring emblem of Korea's Joseon dynasty. Erected between 1794 and 1796 under King Jeongjo, this citadel blends royal devotion with advanced military design. The broad moat encircling the northern and eastern walls forms a vital yet often overlooked element, weaving defense within the city's daily rhythm. Crafted to shield the growing center, the moat, up to 20 meters wide, drew water through weirs and channels. More than just a barrier, it did shape the battlefield, guiding foes into narrow zones under fire from towers and pavilions, reflecting a keen grasp of terrain and planning. Inspired by scholar Jeong Yakyong's study of Western defenses, the fortress merged Asian and European tactics. The moat's design channeled invaders into exposed paths and disrupted siege setups, and it amplified archers' volleys, creating a layered shield around the walls. Sluice gates allowed precise control that could raise the water to mire the attackers or draining it for access. In sieges, this turned firm ground into swamps, thwarting ramps and advances with calculated ease. During peacetime, the moat nurtured the city. It drained fields, irrigated crops, and sustained fishermen, while the children played along its banks during festivals. This blend of martial and civic roles knit the fortress into Suwon's life. Today, the moat enhances the fortress's allure. Visitors trace lantern-lit paths, watching reenactments as guards patrol above the water's gleam, a living link to their heritage. From above, you can see the fortress curve sharply through the modern grid, its moat a dark line beside the walls. Aerial views do highlight restored buildings and trace historic paths which guide preservation. This perspective reveals a fortress shaping both defense and city growth across the centuries. Number 9. Himeji Castle Moat in Japan. In the heart of the Hyogo Prefecture, Himeji Castle rises atop Himeyama Hill, its white walls earning it the title the White Heron Castle. A pinnacle of Japanese feudal design and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, this stronghold melds elegance with an intricate moat system, one of the most formidable in the nation's history, crafted to defend and deceive invaders across the centuries. First built in the 14th century and expanded in the early 1600s, the castle's moats form three concentric layers: inner, middle, and outer. Spanning over 2 kilometers, these waters once encircled the central keep, though only the inner and middle moats remain active today, with the outer absorbed by Himeji's modern growth. Beyond blocking assaults, they were woven into the castle's maze-like layout, guiding enemies through twisting paths and false gates. Attackers had to circle endlessly, exposed to fire from elevated towers, never nearing the center of the keep. Varying in width and depth, the moats featured stone-lined banks and clay reinforcements to resist erosion and tunneling. Sluices maintained water levels, ensuring flow in dry seasons or flooding to mire the foes, and that shifted the battlefield swiftly to favor the defenders. In the Sengoku period, Himeji's moat network rendered it near invincible, repelling sieges without failing. Under the Tokugawa shogunate, it stood as a model of unyielding strength, shaping fortresses across Japan. From above, Himeji Castle gleams as a white core ringed by green and blue moat. The inner moat's oval frames the fortress, while traces of the middle moat weave through the urban edges. Aerial tools do track water levels and vegetation here, and it unveils a legacy of precision and grace. Number 8. The Citadel of Lille, France. In northern France, near the Belgian border, the Citadel of Lille stands as a pinnacle of European military design. Created between 1667 and 1670 for King Louis XIV, this 5-pointed star fortress melds geometric precision with an elaborate moat system. That's a cornerstone of its formidable defense. Built after France's conquest of Lille, the citadel embodied Vauban's vision of layered protection. Its angled walls and bastions deflected assaults, but the moat, fed by the Doubs River, formed the heart of this strategy, using water to reshape the battlefield. The moat unfolds into 2 tiers. A primary ditch, about 20 to 40 meters wide, hugs the inner walls, while outer channels and lakes link to canals and sluices, creating a web of barriers. This design trapped the invaders, forcing them into narrow, exposed paths under relentless fire. Control gates and weirs adjusted water levels, enabling defenders to flood the terrain, mire siege engines, or create muddy quagmires. Entire valleys could turn impassable, rendering the citadel an island stronghold. A fluid defense that Vauban called a marsh of war. The star-shaped angles eliminated any blind spots, ensuring that every stretch had flanking volleys. So daunting was this setup that Lille never endured a full siege, earning its title as the Queen of Citadels in Vauban's network. Still in military use, this citadel today restricts public access, but its moat and parklands draw runners and cyclists. From above, the citadel traces a flawless star, the inner moat a dark ribbon around the stone walls. The outer ditches weave through the green canals, vivid in aerial views, and hydrological data tracks the water shift and urban pressures, revealing a fortress of stone and water, timeless in its elegance. Moving on to number 7, Suomenlinna, sea fortress in Finland. Off Helsinki's coast, the Suomenlinna sea fortress spans a cluster of islands. Its defenses are woven into the Baltic Sea. Built in 1748 by Sweden, then rulers of Finland, the sprawling stronghold countered Russian naval threats that guarded trade routes with a moat unlike any other. Not mere trenches, but the sea itself, shaped into a formidable barrier. Named Sveaborg, the fortress adapted Vauban's designs to the archipelago's rugged form. Rather than a single ditch, its moats are straits and channels, both natural and crafted, deepened to block ships and landing forces. Stone-lined shores and gun batteries guarded every path, turning the water into the first line of defense. Engineers created this fluid shield with care. Underwater barriers halted vessels, while drawbridges and gapped causeways broke under threat, isolating the invaders. Each island stood ready with barracks and cannons, their overlapping fire creating a lethal web across the tides. In 1855's Crimean War, the moats proved their worth. An Anglo-French fleet bombarded for days, yet the channels and batteries held firm, repelling any attempts despite the damage. Passing to Finnish control after independence, Suomenlinna served until 1973, then became a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a vibrant community. Over 800 residents now call it home, linked by ferries to Helsinki. The moat remains central, guiding tourist boats and hosting marine life among historic stones. Reenactments animate its ramparts and blending past with present in a living landscape. From above, it unfolds as a gray island traced with blue channels, and aerial views trace the organic yet deliberate pattern, revealing the sunken defenses and the tidal shift. Satellite data does aid preservation, and it captures a fortress where land and sea merge in timeless unity. Number 6. The Mehrangarh Fort moat in India. In the desert of Jodhpur, Rajasthan, Mehrangarh Fort rises over 400 feet above the blue-roofed city, a towering emblem of Rajput strength. Carved from the cliffs since 1459 under Rao Jodha, this citadel blends palace and stronghold. Its lesser-known dry moat, a vast trench that's hewn into the rock, form a daunting barrier where water was scarce and sieges loomed. Designed to shield the fort's western and southern flanks, the moat reaches over 20 meters deep and 30 meters wide, cut directly from granite. Where cliffs faltered, it halted elephants, rams, and infantry, forcing attackers into a perilous descent across open ground. No water filled this trench. That was a choice that was shaped by Rajasthan's climate. Instead, it deepened the fort's elevation, trapping ladders and tunneling attempts in a stark vertical chasm. Defenders above rained down arrows and stones through murder holes, turning the moat into a relentless gauntlet. Even the presence of this moat weighed on the minds as much as the bodies. Combined with a winding entry path, it stretched invaders' routes past watchtowers, sowing confusion and dread under constant scrutiny. The dry moat endures, its granite walls bearing chisel marks from its creation. Conservation maintains the depth and form, which complements the fort's restored halls and museums, preserving a silent example to its purpose. From above, it looks like a stone fortress amid the sprawl. The moat is a dark crescent along the southern and western base, and aerial views trace the sharp scar through the desert, tracking erosion and wear to guide the preservation. This perspective reveals a citadel forged from the earth, unyielding in its rocky ground. Number 5. Krak du Chevaliers, Syria. In the rolling hills of western Syria, Krak du Chevaliers rises as a timeless icon of crusader strength. Built and expanded from the 11th to the 13th centuries, this UNESCO World Heritage Site commands the Holmes Gap with a dry moat carved into bedrock that forms a formidable barrier which blends medieval ingenuity with unyielding defense. First shaped by the Kurdish forces and perfected by the Knights Hospitaller during the Crusades, the fortress housed thousands guarding vital trade routes. Its moat, hewn between the outer wall and the towering keep, span over 30 feet wide and 20 feet deep, the trench thwarting siege engines and ladders. More than just a ditch, this moat anchors a layered system. Attackers crossing the depth faced relentless fire from arrow slits, trapped in an exposed chasm. The inner castle loomed above, channeling foes towards a fortified gate located with turns and traps for projectiles. The moat countered evolving threats, too. Its steep limestone walls absorbed trebuchet strikes, while their depth deterred tunneling, preserving the fortress through countless sieges. Only in 1271 did Memluk tactics, blending force and guile, overcome it, yet the moat prolonged resistance. Earthquakes and recent conflict have scarred Krak, but its moat endures, a stone-carved example of resilience. But conservation battles time to maintain this historic trench. From above, it forms a bold oval amid Syria's hills, its moat a shadowed line encircling the walls. This view reveals a fortress etched in defiance, its moat a lasting guard against centuries of strife. Number 4. Fort St. Nicholas in France. At the edge of Marseille's old port, Fort St. Nicholas guards the harbor's southern entrance, a 17th century bastion born of King Louis XIV's command in 1660. Built to shield both France's vital city from sea threats and to curb its rebellious spirit, this fortress merges stone walls with a tidal moat, a seawater trench that weaves defense into the port's rhythms. Unlike inland ditches, the moat draws directly from the harbor's tides. At high tide, it floods, isolating bastions into these islands that are linked only by drawbridges. At low tide, it reveals slick, muddy channels that's impassable underfoot, which would thwart assaults while enhancing the fort's angled batteries. Designed in the Vauban bastion style, the fort's walls deflected cannon fire, while the moat doubled as a barrier and a weapon. Saltwater corroded siege gear, and the shifting depth foiled ladders and bridges. Hidden obstacles, too, blocked ships that ensured no easy landing. A narrow channel, gated with sluices, tied the moat to the port, and defenders could seal it during threats, halting boat crossings and securing the trench against surprise raids. That was a fluid defense aligned with the sea's pulse. Beyond control, though, the moat deterred with intent. The presence of it forced attackers into exposed routes, met by layered fire from the towers, which embodied a calculated blend of strategy and environment. Now, though, it's a historic monument. The moat endures. Its mossy stones are open to tours that trace its past as a guardian and enforcer. It's no longer a threat, though. It reflects the city's complex history. From above, it looks like a stone arc along Marseille's port. The moat is vivid at high tide, and it curves darkly between fortress and seawall. Aerial scans do track tides and algae plus erosion, and it's a farming citadel that's bound to the Mediterranean's ceaseless flow. Number 3. The Forbidden City Moat in Beijing, China. In the heart of Beijing, the Forbidden City stands as an emblem of imperial might, the red walls and golden roofs framed by a wide moat. Stretching nearly 3.5 kilometers long and spanning 52 meters across, this rectangular waterway encircles the palace, blending ceremonial grace, practical defense, and symbolic power into one of the world's grandest fortifications. Crafted in the early 15th century under the Ming Dynasty's Yongle Empire, the moat reflects Feng Shui and Confucian order. Beyond a barrier, it makes a sacred divide, separating the emperor's realm from the outer world, the serene presence echoing the city's divinity. For defense, the moat's width and depth halted cavalry and infantry. It was a final shield against anyone who breached Beijing's boundaries. It also curbed fire risks, vital amid the wooden halls and dry winds, safeguarding the palace through the centuries of rule. Unlike narrower trenches, though, this moat enhances the city. The water mirrors the tower gates with access limited to ceremonial bridges that were tied to the central axis, reserved for those of rank and purpose, reinforcing the imperial control. Now, though, it is a global heritage site. This moat defends the Forbidden City's edge, and it reflects the ancient eaves and turrets. But restoration ensures water purity here, and historic channels link the past to the present within Beijing's boundaries. From above, though, it forms a sharp rectangle amid the urban sprawl. The moat is a gleaming frame. Aerial views capture the symmetry, tracking water shifts and ecology to guide preservation. This perspective reveals a palace that's bound by tradition, its moat a timeless guardian. Number 2. Chateau de Chambord, France. In the verdant Loire Valley, the Chateau de Chambord emerges as a Renaissance marvel, its stone walls and turrets embodying symmetry. Begun in 1519 under King Francis I, this vast palace, the largest in the region, captivates with its intricate skyline. Yet encircling its base lies a broad moat, a shimmering frame that elevates the chateau into a vision of timeless elegance. Unlike fortress trenches that were built for war, this moat weaves pageantry and control into its design. Spanning about 25 to 40 feet wide, it draws from the Casson River tributaries, its waters reflecting the chateau's facade at dawn and dusk. This liquid mirror transforms the palace into a floating realm. Beyond the beauty, though, the moat steadied the marshy ground beneath the structure of 440 rooms and 84 staircases. It channeled runoff from the roofs and terraces through hidden gutters and canals, which guarded the foundations against floods and in a land prone to dampness. Engineers, possibly guided by Leonardo da Vinci's insights, shaped the moat early in construction, using sluices to balance water levels and adapt to seasonal shift. This hydraulic finesse ensured its stability for the chateau's sprawling form that was a priority before the halls rose. Over time, the moat served varied roles: fish farming, flood defense, and festive displays where boats glided before the noble onlookers. During the French Revolution, it shielded Chambord from ruin, its waters isolating the palace amid the chaos. Now, though, it's meticulously preserved. The moat sustains the chateau's stonework with monitored levels and ecological care. Visitors cross footbridges, gazing at reflections of spires, drawn to a palace poised above its tranquil frame. From above, the cruciform silhouette gleams amid the gardens. Its moat is a radiant band that traces the palace's edge. Aerial scans do track moisture and ecology, of course, that reveal a Renaissance vision where water and stone unite in enduring harmony. Number 1. Neuf-Brisach, France. In the flatlands of Alsace, near the Rhine River, Neuf-Brisach stands as a pinnacle of military precision, a fortress town crafted in 1697 by Vauban for Louis XIV. Born after France lost Brissac am Rhin, this star-shaped citadel blends urban order with a moat system of unmatched intricacy, weaving earth and water into a seamless defense along the German frontier. Now, this moat defies simplicity, forming a multi-layered web of dry trenches, flooded channels, and ramparts that encircle the town's geometric core. Beyond a single barrier, it creates a gauntlet designed to slow, divert, and repel any advance with calculated efficiency. A broad glacis slopes outwards, shielding the defenses from any distant fire, while also hiding the full scope. Beyond it lies deep stone-lined dry moats, its high counterscarp thwarting any climbers. Narrow angled bridges, easily cut, forced foes into exposed paths under the bastion volleys. A second flooded moat wraps the inner ramparts, fed by Rhine channels through sluices. Defenders could raise the waters to trap invaders or flood dry zones, turning firm ground into mire and disrupting any siege plans with fluid control. Within, the town aligns in a rigid grid, 8 avenues radiating to a fortified square, which housed soldiers and civilians ready to retreat inward. Every street served as defense, its sightlines clear and deliberate. The moat's vast symmetry daunted the attackers, which signaled a strength planned to the last angle. Through centuries, it deterred sieges, holding firm even in 1870's Franco-Prussian War, with its layers blunting modern artillery. Today, though, the moat remains pristine. Dry sections form these grassy paths, and wet channels flow under careful watch, and visitors can trace Vauban's design and marvel at its elevations and curves. The trenches now invite reflection, not ruin. From above, it gleams as a star that's etched into Alsace's fields. Its moat, a vivid ring of green and silver around an octagonal grid. Aerial imagery track erosion and vegetation, which preserves this fortress where water and stone unite in a timeless defense.